In this week's episode of My Hero Academia, Izuku Midoriya makes a giant robot his bitch. All for one and one for all, my friends. This week's episode of My Hero Academia was a lot of fun. The first official exam to get into UA High School is underway, and it was really exciting getting to see all of these crazy heroes in action. And we finally got to see Izuku Midoriya using the one for all ability. And you know what? The wait was worth it. It was pretty damned awesome, but it's an attack that comes at an extreme cost. If your body is not ready for this power, it is going to get completely destroyed, and that's exactly what happened to Izuku in this episode. Nonetheless, he is more heroic than just about any character that I've seen from the series, and that's even talking about All Might as well. Picking up from last week's episode, all of these students are getting thrown into these fake cities which are filled with these big battle robots that they're going to have to take down with all of their powers. For every single one you kill, you get a point. The more points you get, the higher chance you have of getting into UA High School. So that means you have to haul ass and kick lots of robots' butts. So, Izuku Midoriya, of course, is completely nervous about all of this shit and manages to get left behind at just about every single portion of this week's episode. But this was a really great moment to introduce a lot of the other cool characters from the series. First, there is this one kid who totally reminds me of Cavendish from One Piece. You know exactly what I mean if you watch that series, and I'm not sure what his superpowers are, but he appears to wear this belt which can shoot a laser from it, and it always just looks like he's shooting a laser from his crotch. There's also that one douchebag in the glasses who appears to have, like, jet thrusters in his calves, which allow him to move really quick and kick the shit out of giant robots with ease. And then, of course, there's our main female lead of the series, Ochako, who is basically using gravity abilities, as far as I can tell. Whenever she touches something, it'll start to float, and then when she puts her hands back together, they'll drop back down to the earth. So she actually ends up running to all of these robots, just tapping them. They all lift up in the air, hands together, and then the robots just fly into the ground and explode. So all of these heroes are just going around and destroying these robots willy-nilly left and right, and Izuku Midoriya is freaking out, and he doesn't know if he has confidence in his powers, especially the way he has to use them. In order to use the One for All ability, according to All Might, you have to clench your butt cheeks together, and you have to say smash when you attack. And towards the end of the episode, there's that one big obstacle which was teased in the previous one, which essentially is just this massive robot, which is just going through the city, destroying everything in its path, and it's so powerful that all of the heroes decide to run away. Except for Izuku Midoriya. He is going to stand strong and go up against this thing, mostly probably because he is desperate for points, but the real reason he decides to stop this robot is to save his brand new friend, Ochako. She's trapped underneath all of this rubble and about to be crushed by this massive robot, and that's when he finally decides to jump in without hesitation like a true hero. He clenches his butt cheeks, explodes into the sky, and says smash as he punches this robot square in the face and completely rocks its world, destroying it with one freaking punch. This scene is awesome, and it really shows how devastating the One for All abilities are going to be. The thing is, as good of a vessel as Izuku actually is, his body cannot withstand this power, so his arm completely breaks, and both of his legs do, so he's falling out of the sky, and I have to admit, there's just something really funny about his legs just sort of flying around in the wind as they're broken. I'm sure it was intentional, but he's trying to decide what he can do to survive this big fall, so he tries to use the Detroit Smash ability, which he feels will be able to brace everything, but it'll come at the cost of probably breaking his other arm. But right before he hits the ground, his new friend Ochako ends up saving him right before he hits, and then he just plummets to the ground and is completely knocked out, exhausted from his very first use of the One for All ability. Izuku has actually passed his written exams alright, and he feels that he got a 0 on this test because he merely defeated an obstacle and none of the enemies. Of course, this is not your ordinary everyday test. There are a lot of big heroes who are watching the competition, all of which look really freaking strange. One of them is a talking mouse, one of them literally looks like a giant block of tofu, and there's this other guy who has a skull for a face. It's really freaky. Not to mention the other characters they even introduced at the beginning of the episode. This one dude who has like fire all over his body. Something Endeavor, I think was his name. He looked like a Marvel superhero from the 1980s. And then there's this other guy whose only shtick seems to be that his entire suit is made out of blue jeans. He He even has this like high collar that goes all the way up to his nose, and it just so happens to be the crotch portion. There's even a zipper right there in front of his face. What's with all the crotches in this show? So all of these amazing superheroes were overseeing this exam, and they decided that since he went out of his way to save this girl and take down this robot, that was worthy of being a true hero. And he got big rescue points for that. And 60 points puts him in 7th place, which means he is going to be allowed to go to the UA High School. Completely overjoyed by this. I especially loved how the episode ended with his mother feverishly giving him the actual letter, waiting outside of his room, and then he finally figures it out by listening to this, like, weird holographic phone call from All Might. And then as the episode ends, it goes through the credits, and then it all ends with his mother still being outside. He walks out, and he smiles, and then she's just so happy. By the way, his mother has got to be the most adorable anime mom that I've ever seen, and it's hilarious how much she's changed from that one flashback where she was tall and thin, and now she's just really short and stubby, and she's just so freaking adorable and so funny and expressive, just like Izuku himself. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of My Hero Academia? This one is pretty damn great. I especially love it for the main character, who is basically the underdog, but he's like the most true hero that we've seen from the entire series. You know, he barely knows how to use his power, he doesn't know how to be like the knight in shining armor, but when he knows to do the right thing, he manages to follow through every single time. And it also happens to be delivered with some excellent action. This week's episode also did a great job of introducing a lot of the brand new side characters, Ochako in particular. I especially love that she went to the examiners and actually pleaded the case for Izuku for actually ended up saving her, but it didn't matter. The examiners decided to give him the points anyway for the rescuing, so everybody recognized how awesome he was, and that punch scene looked great. I especially loved how it was all done, how destroyed his arm looked, but he was even so shocked right there, and you could tell at the same time, he was kind of thinking in his head, yeah, I'm pretty freaking badass. One thing that I finally noticed in this episode, and it's something that I really appreciate as a fan of Star Wars movies, is that a lot of the locations in the series are named after places from Star Wars. I remember in the first episode there was a place that was called Tatooine, and in this one I just realized that the garbage heap that had to be cleaned up by Izuku was in this place that was called Dagobah. So I really cannot wait to see what other Star Wars references are going to be in the show. I'm guessing that the creator of the series is just a fan of Star Wars. And so another week has passed and we have another episode of My Hero Academia, building upon the world as well as the character and all of the side characters from the show. This was a great episode right here. This is the one that I've really been waiting for, getting to finally see Izuku use some sort of quirk or special ability, and it really paid off big time. I also really loved all of the brand new characters they introduced, all of the students, all of the teachers. All Might is still an amazingly funny character, especially at the end when he was in his golden suit doing that like big like game show type thing for him. It was just so over the top and fun, just like the rest of this show. It's just really great. I can't recommend it enough. So I liked this episode a lot. It flew right by, honestly, for me. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 5 out of 5. It was entertaining as hell. I love all of the new characters, and Izuku is really growing on me. He has changed so much since the first episode of the series. Oh, and I didn't even mention there was that one other character who actually ended up healing him, because remember his arm and his legs were actually broken. There's this nurse lady, this cute little old lady who has the ability to heal people by basically kissing them. It's really strange, but it's a real great funny scene. She also gives people gummies, so that's really nice. And then there was a Ochako who was puking rainbows. It was like a unicorn or a gnome from Gravity Falls. It was just really, really funny stuff here. So fantastic episode of My Hero Academia. Make sure to check it out, Action Anime fans. You'll definitely see something you like. But if any of you guys, that's right, you guys, watched this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Was there a new character who was introduced in this episode that has now become your favorite? What did you think of Izuku using the one-for-all ability for the very first time? And what do you want to see from the rest of the My Hero Academia series? Please tell me in the comments section below. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching this review. I really appreciate it. If you would like to, please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see all of our latest anime and manga reviews, our weekly podcast show, and if you look in the description box below, you'll also see links to Facebook and Twitter. Make sure to check all that stuff out. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.